As one of the resources necessary to maintain life, water is one of the most valuable substances on Earth. However, there's only so much water that we can actually use to satisfy our growing need for fresh, clean water. Using the 4-tap system and technological innovation, Singapore can replenish its water supply as the growing population puts more stress on it.
An island nation with little landmass, Singapore is constantly challenged to find new sources of drinking water. Without large conventional sources of fresh water, Singapore is unable to gather substantial amount of water locally. As a result, it must turn to other nations for help.
Currently, Singapore has a contract with neighboring Malaysia known as the Johor Water River Agreement that allows it to draw up to 250 million gallons of water from the Johor River each day. This agreement meets up to half of Singapore's water needs. With the agreement set to expire in the year 2061, Singapore has been searching for alternatives to imported water to meet its future water needs.
To better understand Singapore's water needs, it is necessary to understand exactly how Singapore gets the remaining water and how it uses it. Donella Meadows' diagram on systems. This model allows us to see how Singapore collects water and how it uses it, facing the restrictions of a limited water supply.
Singapore has a stock of water, or in other terms a water supply, which it is dependent on for survival. The citizens of Singapore draw on this water supply daily, taking away from the supply, while efforts by the government to gather water add to the supply.
The people of Singapore rely on their finite water supply not only for drinking water, but also for activities like bathing, cleaning, and other recreational activities. With growth in population and continued urbanization in the future, the demand for water will increase exponentially, drawing more heavily on Singapore's water supply.
To offset the constant demand for water, Singapore's Public Utilities Board draws on 4 different sources known as the 4 taps, which include local catchment water, imported water, new water, and desalinated water.
Local catchment water, the first of the 4 taps, relies on rainwater to replenish Singapore's water supply. According to Singapore's Public Utilities Board, rainwater is collected through various drains, canals, rivers, and stormwater ponds before being filtered into one of the 17 different reservoirs. While Singapore has developed an advanced system for maximizing its water collection abilities, the lack of space to put drains and reservoirs makes this collection method rather difficult to expand. With increasing competition for space as population growth continues, there is limited space to expand water catchment facilities, thus making it even harder for Singapore to gather fresh water this way.
The second of the 4 taps, imported water, comes from the previously mentioned treaty with Malaysia. While this tap allows Singapore to supply a large amount of water to its population, the agreement that allows it to do so will expire in the year 2061, and, unless it is renewed, it will no longer provide fresh water to Singapore's water supply.
The next of the 4 taps, desalinated water, relies on turning seawater into drinking water to meet Singapore's water demands. Desalinated water is one of the great examples of Singapore's technological innovation that allows the country to find new sources of water. A relatively new innovation, desalinated water was first introduced in Singapore in 2005, with the opening of its first desalination plant. By removing excess particles from seawater, subjecting it to reverse osmosis, and then mixing it in with clean water, Singapore can produce 30 million gallons of water per day, which satisfies roughly 25% of the country's current water needs.
Singapore has indicated that it will further expand its desalination tap by opening a large water processing plant in the future, estimating that with these 2 facilities, the country will be able to produce 100 million gallons of water a day. Experts believe that this will meet 25% of Singapore's growing water needs by the year 2060. The use of desalinated water is an example of how Singapore is harnessing new technologies to better handle its limited resources. Although this tap can be expanded and can continue to provide a substantial amount of drinking water in the future, Singapore's population will need to find other sources to continue to meet its growing water needs.
The last of the 4 taps, New Water, is a technological innovation that holds great promise for addressing Singapore's future water needs. Called a pillar of Singapore's water sustainability by Singapore's Public Utilities Board, New Water is produced through a 3-step process involving microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet radiation. Through these processes, the water is purified from bacteria, viruses, large particles, and other foreign substances, making it extremely safe for consumption.
According to Singapore's Public Utilities Board, New Water has passed over 100,000 scientific tests for quality and has surpassed the World Health Organization's safety standards, further proving its high quality.
Currently, New Water meets 30% of Singapore's daily water needs, but the goal of Singapore's government is to have it meet up to 55% of the population's needs by the year of 2060. While much of New Water is used for non-potable or non-drinking purposes, it can be mixed with reservoir water and treated again to act as a source of drinking water. This facility allows Singapore to use New Water for a variety of purposes, which automatically makes it one of the most useful technologies for water conservation and recycling.
Altogether, the 4 taps represent an inflow of water that replenishes Singapore's water supply. The technological advances that make desalinated water and New Water possible, along with the resulting increase in water efficiency, work to counteract the depletion of the country's water supply. During the short time that they have been used, Singapore's water conservation technologies have had and will continue to have a dramatic impact on the country's ability to collect and reuse water. The benefits of these technologies are not only beneficial for Singapore, but with their introduction to other countries, they are improving water efficiency there as well. One example of these technologies being used abroad is in the water-scarce region of Southern California, where recycled water has been used to replenish this valuable resource in an otherwise water-deficient area.
Now, picture Singapore's technology being applied on a large scale in spaces such as India, China, or the Middle East, where large populations constantly put a strain on water resources, or there is a simple shortage of clean water in the area. On April 16, 2014, Edward Wong of the New York Times released an article on Beijing and how it uses technology similar to Singapore's to increase its water supply. According to this article, China is building a desalination plant that by 2014 could supply 1 million tons of fresh water each day, which could account for 1/3 of the water consumption of Beijing, a city of more than 22 million people. Looking at the math behind this, it means that this one desalination plant could supply roughly 730,000 people with clean drinking water every day. This shows that the technology utilized by Singapore and adopted in other countries truly has a large impact on maintaining a steady water supply to the world's growing population's needs.
Although many of Singapore's water conservation initiatives are long-term and have not yet been fully implemented, the effects of the technologies that drive these initiatives are visible. By adopting the technologies used by Singapore, other countries would be able to not only find new ways to collect fresh water and reuse old water, but also meet the future water demands of a growing global population.